we're going to be talking about her transition from living in England to El Salvador, traveling with her kids, and how she turned her contribution to the book into a career making bilingual materials. So, Kim, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so you said the biggest points. I'm from England, but I've been in El Salvador for 12 years now. My husband's from here, and as Sarah loves to point out, we met on MySpace 12 years ago. So I've been here since then. We've got 3 kids together now, so they go to school in the mornings, and I work doing a few jobs, teaching English, making my bilingual books, and also with Nomad Publishing as well.
And thank you so much for your support. Actually, Kim is our new project manager for Nomad Publishing. Thank you so much, because having someone who's gone through it themselves helps so much, especially with the authors, don't you think?
Yeah, and I should probably have this like with me, right?
Oh, awesome. Mine are in the trunk of the car. I didn't get them because we just got to the Airbnb here in Cancun. So I want to ask you a few questions. First of all, how was your transition from the culture living in England to moving to El Salvador, not speaking the language, meeting your future husband online? What was the transition like with the culture?
Yeah, I still don't speak fluent Spanish, so even 12 years later, because I never really had the need to fluently. Like my husband speaks English, my kids speak English, my job is English. So it was hard in the beginning, for sure, not knowing anyone. I think that the hardest thing is not knowing anyone, because you kind of take for granted that everything you do in life, your school, your college, your like extracurricular activities, you're meeting friends along the way. So when you're in a completely new place, 0 people, you don't know anyone. So everything you do is like, please be my friend.
That's funny, because we actually met online too. We met through the El Salvador expat group and the mommy and me group. So how did you do things when you were first in El Salvador? Did your husband go with you everywhere, or did you go on your own?
He had to. I was only young when I came. I was 20, so I didn't have a job. We had a kid like 1 year after I came, so I was pretty much full mom mode at home. No car, anything. I didn't drive or anything, so I was really limited. It was hard the first few years like that, but now I'm like more situated. I have friends. I have my own house, my own car, everything. So it definitely made it better, like having like the independence.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you, it might be a little too personal, but what happened at the beginning when you had a fight? Eventually you're going to fight with your boyfriend, you're going to fight with your husband. Did you feel like you could leave? What
I
did
had
you
nowhere to
do?
go to, right? I mean, it's always like kind of fairy tale in the beginning, right? Like, oh, I came all the way over here. But I had the idea in the beginning that one day we would always go back to England. And that's why I was lazy. I was like, I'm not going to learn any Spanish. What's the point? We'll go back to England. But long story short, it never happened. We looked, the paperwork, the visas, everything. The expense of living in England, it's not worth it. So yeah, it was better once we figured out, no, we're not going back.
And you talked about that in your chapter. You were very honest about the expense of back to England for a visit. And you're very honest about, I go back there to see friends and family, but everybody's kind of going on with their lives. And really, our family could be traveling all around the world for that expense.
Yeah, I
You want to
went
talk
back
about that?
recently for the first time in 5 years as well. So it was for my grandma's funeral, unfortunately. But that's something my sister said now, that even though I'm on the other side of the world, the rest of the family isn't. But she said it's been years since we saw some of our cousins and aunts and everything. So
And you live right
at
there
this
next to
age,
each other.
exactly. So at this age, something that my sister said, which is so true, is that the family will really just get together for weddings and funerals at this point.
It's very sad, but it's very true. Has any of your family come to El Salvador to visit you?
In 12 years, I've had one aunt come and one friend come, and that's it.
You know that 0 people visited me in El Salvador when I lived there. Everybody visited Mexico, nobody visited me in El Salvador.
They should all, in England it's cold. They should all come here for the sunny beaches, right?
Right. So when I first approached you to join Born to Travel, you were reluctant because you said life is not that interesting. And then when you joined it, you were the first author to finish your story, to finish your chapter. You finished your chapter like this. And you were like, here it is. And then before we even published Born to Travel, you were making your own bilingual books and publishing them. Can you tell us about how that happened?
I mean, you inspired me for it, right? I think you need to be told from someone else's perspective what your story actually is, like to talk about it. Because for you, you lived it all, you did it all. So it's just your life, right?
It's familiar.
So I mean, so many people like, what? You met your husband online. Why are you here? It's crazy. But for me, it's like, that's my life. That's just normal. So you need somebody else to kind of step in and say, this is your exciting story, like put it down on paper. And the books, you're the one who helped me with that as well, because like I said, I don't speak fluent Spanish, but I did see that there's like a lack of early childhood books for kids that are bilingual. There's loads of English books, loads of Spanish books, but not really many that are like putting them together for them to learn like first words together. So I've done it like really, really basic book of just dog, perro, 2 words together on the same page, right? So it's just like in my family, my husband's Spanish, I'm English, and we have the 2 languages put together.
No, you're absolutely right. And honestly, it's embarrassing, but we don't have a lot of books regardless, because here books are so expensive. So if we do books, we're picking them up at like the flea market, they're secondhand, and they're usually in English, or they're usually picture books. We don't find a lot of Spanish.
Well, I started out with books, and I have figured that the books are not going to sell very well because they obviously have to be more expensive because of the pricing and the printing. So I started making like teaching materials from the same things from the books, but making them into like coloring pages and flashcards and worksheets, because I can just sell the digital copy. That's no cost, right? And people can print it off as many times as they want to. They can just have it on their computer to show to the kids if they want to do that.
Which is what Teachers Pay Teachers is, right? And they have different websites for that. I know that you looked into printing locally. How did that work out?
Yeah, the cost of printing the books wasn't realistic. So what I actually did. That's the one that I have, like the Amazon version. So it's bigger. My at-home version, I literally printed myself.
Which one came out better? Because I know Amazon for children's books is not my first choice.
The page quality for the colors is not that great, in all honesty. But the ones at home,
see-through, right? Like they're transparent pages.
Yeah, like the ones at home, I don't think they're bad. Like the color shows up well.
They look brighter.
And then I just like have like a glossy paper for the outside. So I just get the cover printed properly, and then the rest homemade.
That's awesome. And I know you share a ton of your materials on Instagram, right?
Yeah, I spend a lot of time on Instagram.
So I also wanted to ask you, what would you want people to take away from your chapter in Born to Travel? What do you think is the big lesson?
That we all have a story, and then we all have something to tell, right? Even if you've just been to a few countries, then that's a few stories that you have to tell, right? You don't have to have been all over the world. You don't have to have done so many things, but your story is always going to be different from someone else's. So they're still going to want to hear it.
It's a great point, because even if you've been to one country, even if you went to one country internationally, that's still, for Americans, that's still crazy. There's still so many Americans who don't even have a passport.
Same in my hometown. Like there's so many people that haven't even left the town, so let alone the country. So,
and you're right there. You have so many countries in Europe that they could go to that are so close.
Yeah, it's much cheaper. That's one reason my husband is like, oh, let's move back to Europe one day, because the flights will all be so much cheaper.
Right? Like the Ryanair, is that the airline there?
There's a few different options. That's the beauty. You can like shop around more.
So we're going to end this interview. I thank you so much for talking to me about your materials. Where can people look for you? Where can they find you? And where can they buy your bilingual materials?
Yeah, I'm pretty much Kim El Salvador on everything. It's the easiest way to put everything together, right? I think I'm the only one.
You're the only Kim in El Salvador.
I mean, there's Kimberly's, but I don't think anybody goes by Kim here, really. So Kim El Salvador, easy to find. Facebook, Instagram, everywhere.
Thank you so much, Kim, for speaking with us. And I know that your story is interesting to other people, especially now that everybody's meeting people online. But you did it. Congratulations on your 10-year wedding anniversary.
Popular, right?
You did it way before it was popular. Congratulations.
Thanks. See you again soon.
All right.